So on to the first story of Dan Jones. So I'm sure most of you have heard about this already. So basically, the Mississippi Institution of Higher Learning, IHL, has decided not to renew Dan Jones, our chancellor's contract, and voted 9-2 to allow the commission to begin the search for his replacement. Jones is a 66-year-old physician and has led the university since June 2009 after serving 6 years as the university's vice chancellor for health affairs and was a dean of the School of Medicine. In her statement released by the IHL, they stated the reason for not renewing the contract involved business and financial management issues Jones encountered during his time at UMMC, that's the University of Mississippi Medical Center. The board stated that they requested Jones to fix these issues, mostly dealing with contract administration, but Jones failed to remedy the situation adequately. Jones stated that he would not step down from the position and intends to fight for it. However, the actual odds of the IHL reversing their decisions pretty much slim to none. If the IHL is supposed to be kind of immune from outside pressures, so if they kind of bow to everybody yelling to replace them, then it's kind of going to go against their legitimacy and make them seem weak. The whole point of the board is to be, like I said, immune to these things and to see what's best for the citizens of Mississippi. Now, to me, in full disclosure, I've always been a vocal opponent of Dan Jones. Whether you like his policies or not, there is no question that he has been alienating and divisive for this campus. He has constantly caused a divide that has never been seen before in many, many years. Dan Jones also seemed to forget that he actually does have a boss, and I don't think he liked it. Whenever he thought he could just get away with anything, if he thought he had a policy that fit his agenda, he did it unilaterally and arbitrarily, as long as it fit his agenda. But he failed to realize that he is accountable, and he's accountable to the people in Mississippi whose interests are represented by the board. Now, I've actually worked for the IHL, and I believe the board is looking for the best interests of the people in Mississippi. We can't let our ideas of what we think Dan Jones is to get in the way of the actual what's going on here. The board is, of course, there's going to be political, aspects to this. There's no question that Dan Jones and the board, IHL board, doesn't really get along. They never really have. One thing, people always like to, for instance, quote that he's increased enrollment and all this. Well, the thing is, the board, they don't allocate funds based on enrollment numbers, just pure enrollment numbers. They actually base it more on merit, which I am a fan of. What good is more students if those students aren't performing? It's your performance that should matter what your pay is, not how many you can get. It's easy to get a lot of students, but it's hard to get good students. And so Dan Jones is bringing all these students. It's not a measure of his success. It's just a measure of him being able to get more people here. Just not quality people. Because like I said, he's mad because they're not giving him funding. That's strictly because, like I said, he's not performing up to what it should be. And like I said, this is not anything about what he's been doing here. The whole point of them not renewing his contract was the fact that some kind of contract problems over the UMMC. Now, the IHL has not been the most forthcoming on all the details of that, so we can't go into detail about what exactly that meant, but it couldn't have been too good. I mean, this was not a close vote. It was 9-2. Only 2 people voted against. 9 people voted for finding his replacement, 2 voted against. And this kind of goes against the argument of some people who think Phil Bryant is somehow involved with this, which is an absolutely ridiculous notion. Phil Bryant, even if he was involved in it, he only gets 4 appointments to the board. So we're talking 9-2. So we're talking, 5 more votes. I'm not the best at math. So he's got 5 more votes more than just the 4 that he appointed. Of course, all 4 of the people he did appoint did vote to find his replacement. But like I said, there's still 5 others after that voted for it. So even if the Phil Bryant was involved, it wouldn't have made a whole lot of difference. But like I said, even the notion of him being involved is ridiculous. Phil Bryant has denied it, and so does Dan Jones. So, like I said, we have to really focus on the issue at hand. People, like I said, Dan Jones has definitely been one of those guys that you either hate or that you love. And that's, I don't think, is necessarily a good thing, because, like I said, he's been extremely divisive for this university. And I think it's time we have a chance where they can bring us together. One that shares in equal goals and shares equal ideas and lets all ideas come into the table, not just their agenda. That's been Dan Jones in a nutshell. He's only been looking for his agenda, and that's all he's ever cared about. He doesn't care about anybody else's ideas. He was going to do what he wanted to do, no matter what. So I think it's time for a chancellor who can open it up, open the dialogue up, and have somebody who can move us forward. I do wish Dr. Jones, the best luck in the future, and I pray that he beats the cancer. But like I said, it's time for us to move on from this divisive chancellor and move to one who can bring the Ole Miss community together again. And that's what I have to say about that. And I know that's not a very popular opinion. I was looking at the Daily Mississippian today, and on the very front page we got a nice 3/4 page picture of Dr. Jones here. And it says, staff editorial, we believe in Dan. And that's all nice and fun and great and everything. And then I open it up and I go to the editorials, and all we see in the opinion on these letter to editors is pro Dan Jones statements. Then we have these little Twitter reacts to IHL's decision on Jones, and we have 6 tweets here, and all 6 of them are only talking good about Jones. So, I think the Daily Mississippian is kind of lacking in their diversity and opinion. Obviously, everybody's not for him. Like I said, he's been very divisive, but nobody wants to hear that opinion. So you're getting it here today. This is the full story, so we try to give you the full story.